live. How have you been?
I've been good. I stopped caffeine, alcohol, carbohydrates, and weed a week and a half ago, and I've been really unhappy until like yesterday. And now I'm feeling better.
Your body's finally kind of balanced itself out.
Alcohol, carbohydrates, and weed.
There
we go. Yeah. That's the best thing to stream to YouTube. All right. Yeah, whenever you have the link, I'll just swap it. Well, actually, you know what I'll do? Send me the link and I'll wait until the event starts, because I created a dummy event on the event page so that it'd give like the countdown thing. And I'll just swap it out right when we get going.
Perfect. I'm also going to send it to all of our participants, so if they want to send it to other people so they can watch, they can.
That's smart. Though I would actually prefer if you sent them just the link. I'm also going to send it to all of our participants, so if they want. That's so funny. I would suggest actually sending the link to the grant page, because that will embed it, and that will also get people on the page where they could choose to support it or vote on projects. It's a little bit more centralized.
Got it. Good idea.
Yeah, eventually we're going to have this integrated so we don't have to do all these silly hacks, and you'll just all be able to do it on platform. It hasn't been, well, it's a thing that we can hack, so we're focusing our limited resources on building the stuff that you can't hack elsewhere.
I mean, if you can set up a bunch of portaling and just hide all the portaling, you might as well do that for as long as you can before doing all that dev work. So it makes sense to me. You know, if you can portal a live stream via YouTube and portal I totally get it. Okay, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna mute myself so you don't have to listen to me go through my process.
Okay, I'll just stay on the line and do email until things get going. Oh, Michaela, did you also get the template presentation? Cool. Are you planning to use it? Okay, cool. Awesome.
Hi, Juan.
Hi, hello, Michaela.
Hi, thank you so much for taking some time to spend with us for presenting your work. I'm actually going to put you into your own breakout room where I'll be putting all the other presenters.
Okay.
That way you all can start to get to know each other and network with each other. And that'll also be able to be a space where you can kind of hang out and breathe and practice your presentation.
Okay.
So that you're not being showcased on the YouTube live stream practicing and things like that. Just to give you a little bit of privacy, it's almost like your green room. So I'm going to send you there now
Okay.
and see you a little bit later. Sounds good?
Okay, yes, Michaela, only one question. You gonna put like a co-host of the Zoom meeting to share our screen?
Yes, I'm going to give screen share capabilities to all of our presenters.
Okay, thank you. with me gonna be my producer, Caridian. I think he's gonna share his screen. And just only this.
That sounds
Okay.
great. Yeah, I'll
Thank you.
definitely make sure
Bye.
that's
See you later.
right away. See you later. I'm gonna throw you into I'm gonna put you, not throw you. I'll put you into a breakout room now. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Kevin. I think you're muted. One second. Let me unmute you. Ask to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to change
Hey.
the background because I got the 49ers here.
No worries. So Kevin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into a breakout room with our other presenters. That's going to be like your green room. So that's a space that you can turn off your video, practice your presentation, look over your slides. You can also start to network with other presenters so that you guys can all you all can start to get to know each other and find out a little bit more about your projects.
Great.
So I'm going to put you in there now, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for taking the time today. So my name is Michaela. I'm the co-chair of the grant. The way this is going to work is I'm going to put you into a breakout room with some of the other presenters that have arrived. This will be like your green room. Think of it as being like off stage. This is your time. You can turn off your video, look at your slides, practice your presentation. Anything you feel like you need to do to still get yourself ready, you can still do that. We're going to open the showcase with a quick presentation. This is also a time for you to get to know your fellow presentees, kind of start to network, find a little bit more about what you all are doing as nonfiction storytellers and social impact storytellers. And then I'll jump into that breakout room, give you all kind of a quick rehash of how this is going to go, and then we'll get started with presentations. Does that sound good?
Yeah, quick question. Are we sharing from our computer our presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
ideally, if you can. And I will give everyone screen share capabilities.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to assign you to the breakout room now.
Okay, thanks.
I think you're muted. It's Caridian. Is that how I say it correctly?
Hi. Yes, my
Hi.
name is Caridian.
Caridian. It's lovely to meet you. My
Correct.
name is Michaela. I'm one of the chairs of the board of directors for the Activist Lens Grant. We're so excited to hear your presentations. A quick little, this is a quick little directions on how this is going to work. I'm going to put you into a breakout room with your fellow presentees. This is your time to kind of get ready, prep anything else you want to do on your slides, or maybe practice your presentation one more time. This is also your time to get to network with your fellow presentees. This is like your green room, basically. We're live streaming this to YouTube, so it's a way for you to feel like you don't have to be on this live stream YouTube constantly. It's like a private space for you to go to. I'm gonna jump into the presentee breakout room and give you all a couple more directions, and then we'll get started. Does that sound good?
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. I'm gonna send you over there right now. Hey,
How are you?
good. Thanks for joining us.
It's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm trying to get all this other stuff, new computer, new everything, just trying to get it. So I'm gonna fill out the proper form today when I get the after I'm done with this. It's just that we just gotta I don't know. So I guess has the press went out yet for it? I don't know, but our project Nation X has got the Becoming American grant for our project. So between now and November is going to be Looney Tunes.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Sean, we are live streaming this on YouTube. We haven't started the full live stream yet, but what I like to do to make people feel comfortable is I like to put the presentees into their breakout room so they can practice and they can kind of network with each other. And then I like to put the board of directors into their own breakout rooms too, so they can also start to get to know each other. And then when we get started with the actual showcase, I'll bring the board of directors back into the space. I'll bring the presentees back into the space. We'll do a big welcome and then we'll start the presentation.
Okay.
Cool.
Do I have time to do this?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You're the first board of director to arrive, so I would put you in your breakout room, but you'll be by yourself for minutes,
Okay.
so you don't think anyone's trying to ghost you.
Oh, cool. Is it cool if I think I have time to grab a cup of coffee real quick?
Totally, yeah.
Okay, cool.
You in the breakout room, feel free to just go grab a cup of coffee and come right back.
Thank you.
And this should really take an hour of presentations and then maybe a quick 10-15 minutes if board of directors want to discuss anything after.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amelia, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Okay. Hi, hello. I see I'm a little bit early. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. I don't know if you heard a little bit of the blurb that I just gave Sean, but I'm going to, just for comfortability, put presentees into your own breakout room so you all can network, get to know each other, maybe turn off your video and your sound and practice your presentation one more time. So think of that as your like green room. And then I'm going to put the board of directors into their own breakout room as well. And this is just so we all can kind of get prepared in our separate spaces before we like kick off the showcase.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to put you into that breakout room now. Awesome. Hi, Nancy. Hi, David. Thank you all for coming. So the way that I would like this to kind of start is having all of the board of directors in their own breakout room and all of the presentees in their own breakout room. And that way the board of directors can kind of network and get to know each other on that level. And then the presentees can kind of network or practice their presentations in their own private space. And then I'll bring everyone back in for a big welcome and a big kickoff. Does that sound okay?
It's perfect. Thank you, Michaela. Hi,
of
everyone.
course. So I'm going to put you all into a breakout room right now. Give me just a moment. Hey, Jesse.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Give me one moment. So Maddie and Amelia, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to hear your presentations. the way that we're starting this showcase is I'm actually going to put all of the presentees into their own breakout room, so you all can kind of see each other, get to know each other, network with each other. And or if you still have some things you'd like to practice on your presentation or some quick things you want to add to your slide, you have a couple minutes to do that in private. This whole thing is being live streamed, so I kind of want to keep this as our show space and then give you all kind of a green room to kind of take a breath in. So I'm going to put you both into that breakout room now. And Jesse, I've created a breakout room for the board of directors who are also here. So I might put you into that breakout room and then we'll get started in the next few moments. Sounds good? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you all. Jesse, how are you doing? So are you okay if I put you into that breakout room with the board of directors? Okay, board. Hi, Alfredo. How are you doing?
Hey, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a long time.
In a hot second. So quick, just so before we get started, I currently have all of the presentees in their own breakout room and then all of the board of directors in their own breakout room so that you can start networking, saying hi, get to know the presentees, and then the board of directors can kind of be discussing what they need to discuss. I'm going to close the breakout rooms in just a minute or so we can get started with like the full event. Sounds good? Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna put you in presentees. Cool.
I like your black background. It actually looks so cool.
It's literally just like a screenshot I took off my phone.
Hilarious.
Do you see your little breakout room?
It says, yeah, host is inviting to join breakout room. So I'm going to join and I'll see you there, I guess.
Perfect. I'll see you in a second.
Around. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Okay, Michaela, so I need you to re-share sharing capabilities. You are muted.
Renee, we're ready to go live.
Okay, I'll go put it on our website. Give me 30 seconds and I'll tell you when it's live.
Perfect.
Michaela, you are killing it with the organization stuff. I'm just so impressed.
Thanks.
All right, live. You are good to go. We are live.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the Activist Lens Showcase for the month of July. My name is Ternasky-Holland. I'm one of the chairs of the Activist Lens Showcase, the Activist Lens Grant for Kaleidoscope.
That's also in the showcase at this particular moment. And I'm Jesse Damiani. I'm the other co-chair of the grant.
So to start off the showcase, we're going to give you a quick presentation so that you can learn a little bit more about the Activist Lens Grant, about the Kaleidoscope, about how you can support the grant, how you can submit to the grant. And then we're going to introduce our incredible board of directors who are here today, as well as our incredible presentees. So I'm going to hand it all over to Jesse, and I will see everyone in a few moments.
All right. So yeah, hi everyone. So this is the Activist Lens Grant, which is a monthly cash prize to documentary projects that capture injustices in real time. This grant sort of began its life. It was sparked by seeing the sort of incredible movement that was occurring in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor murders. And I felt like this was a time that we really need to make sure that people who want to be documenting injustice have the resources to do so. And basically it has grown from there. But one thing that I really want to be able to call out is that this is something that doesn't just relate to immersive projects. So of course we absolutely love and want to support immersive projects. This is anything. This is podcasts. This is 2D flatty projects. Anything that's about capturing those injustices in real time. And there's a little bit of a looser definition of real time and sort of by design, which is to say there are ways that real-time information, either that was captured in the past or real-time information captured in the present, but built into a project that's going to come out later, all of that applies. The point is really to kind of put a big spotlight on the sort of pressing issues facing folks in their communities. So to kind of get through the cash award and the artist benefits as it stands right now, it's $500 to grantees. We're working hard to fundraise and to be able to offer more and more resources as we grow. But some of the other kind of things that come along with that, because we want this to be a holistic award. We don't want it to just be here's your check, goodbye. We want it to be something where we can help you grow in ways that that are really helpful to you, and think about creative ways to help you achieve your vision. So part of what comes with that is production and distribution consultation with Renee, the founder of Kaleidoscope, an open invitation to present at any upcoming Kaleidoscope showcase to an international network of investors, co-producers, distributors, and festival curators. And if desired, I'll serve as a producer and help connect to press, festival circuits, what have you. Obviously, if that's not something that's desired, I'm more than happy to let you just not do that. So the way these work is that, and this is sort of the genius of Renee's idea, is that we can be funding projects from within communities for whom these issues are sort of urgent. So it's a sort of combination pooling of resources among, you know, folks who are able to be members at the ally level or above, which also enables folks to be able to submit their own projects to any of the other available grants. But of course, there's a mechanism for artists in need to be able to submit free of charge, because we understand, you know, it's a moment where that's very necessary. And given that our goal is to be able to, you know, equip creators with that big leap, you know, whether it's like, oh, I need that piece of software, oh, I need that camera, oh, I need that microphone. We want to be able to do that. So there's options across the way, but those member dues, it's meant to come from within. It's meant to allow communities to bring to life the projects that the community believes needs to be. And so the way that works in service of it being, you know, equitable and, you know, with a desire for not, you know, prizing any one creator or project, is there's a review process that involves a random presentation of different projects that members of the community will encounter. And from within that, they will be able to upvote, leave comments, and or love projects. So actually the board, while, you know, the board is also able to partake in this process, the board and nor the chairs, we're not going out of our way and kind of like picking the project and telling you who we think should be the winner. This is actually a purely democratic process. Simple and transparent. I guess I'm kind of going off and getting ahead of my own slides. So yeah, basically at the end of each month, the project with the most votes ends up being awarded the grant. And part of the reason we do this showcase is to be able to really highlight those projects that are kind of surging and getting up there, and giving people a chance in the final sort of days to really be able to put their support behind the projects they believe deserve it. So now I'm going to send it over to the board of directors, because we have an incredible group of movers and shakers, pioneers across different media. So I want to make space for some of them who are able to be here today. Oh, Kayla's muted.
Yes, one moment. Our board of directors will be joining us in just a moment. Cool. So David, do you want to start with a quick intro, a little bit about you and why you felt that this board of directors and this grant is important?
Absolutely. So hi everyone, my name is David Lee. I've been leading creative teams for almost 10 years, more than 10 years now. Started on film, moved on to game development, and then into VR, AR. So very quickly, like I've been, even in my earliest professional days when I was leading the Comics team, I've always believed that the more diverse, the more interdisciplinary your background, the more necessary, well, rather the better the medium becomes, because this medium is one that takes a lot of pride from coming from different voices. And it's when it first started out in 2012, at least this way with VR, there were a lot of voices to it, and it made for a really exciting industry to be in. That's slightly changed across the years, given how the industry has become. Now, circling to where we are today, like when Jesse reached out and told me that this grant was becoming something that was going to be very, very real, I saw an opportunity to bring back the voices that were lost on the way, to contribute to XR in a way that doesn't seem to be as possible nowadays. So that's my passion. That's where I come from. My background's in design, it's in helping creatives. And if I can sort of use that skill to help coach all of you when making these very important voices louder and more heard, I'm here for that. So that's me in a nutshell. Happy to dive in more if necessary, but it's great to see all of you here today, and I'm here to help.
Sean's next on my vertical, so Sean, I'll throw it to you. You're still muted.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sean Taylor. I'm the co-founding editor of the nerdsofcolor.org and one of the founding organizers of the Nerds of Color, of the Black and Brown Comics Arts Festival, which is in our 7th year coming up. My background is in propaganda, scholarship, and I have degrees in folk studies and philosophy and religion. And I've always wanted to figure out how do we bring public thought and public discourse, especially contentious thought and discourse, to more people to participate in it. Because I think that these types of conversations shouldn't be just the purview of those of us with a bunch of alphabet after our names, but it should be the purview of everybody who is a thinking human being out in the world. And so me wanting to be a part of this project is I really want to make sure that I am somehow able to bring more voices to the public discourse about a myriad of issues, because we live in a world that is so radically interconnected, but we're also radically siloed. And I would love to be able to be a part of that. And so that's kind of why I'm here. And I want to thank you for presenting today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Nancy, I think that leaves you.
Okay, I'll be brief. My name is Nancy Baker Cahill, and I'm an artist, and I'm also the artistic director of the Fourth Wall app, which is a platform I have that is really exploring resistance and creative inclusion. And I have my own history with art and activism and using XR and site-specific geolocated artworks in dialogue with those sites to sort of increase whatever resonance they would otherwise have in another context. And access to public art is really crucial to my work, my practice. So I'm interested in access both selfishly to all of these voices, and just to echo David and Sean, you know, to expand this community, expand the conversation and access to these stories, but also to increase your access to the materials and tools that you need to tell these stories in a moment in time that feels incredibly urgent. I especially with, you know, not even just recent crackdowns on free speech and constitutional rights, but, you know, to Sean's point about disinformation, there's just a lot of, I don't know, very high suspect storytelling. And so it's really imperative to me to hear authentic stories and told courageously, which I think all of these projects kind of fit that bill. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity to help amplify your voice, to help you in any way that you need, and to, again, expand this community to its, you know, furthest reaches. Thank you.
Thank all of you for being here. I think that gives people a taste of the kind of caliber of people that are helping guide the direction of this grant as it evolves over time. Michaela, I'm going to throw it to you now.
Awesome. So we're really excited today. Since the month opened up for our new submissions, we have had 6 projects that have really stood out to us. And those are Cross, Guilty Until Proven Innocent, Our America, People to People, the Love and Remembrance VR Museum, and Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter. So the cool thing about this showcase is you actually get to meet these project creators. You get to hear from their own viewpoints, their own mindset, their own passion, their own identification with the project, why it's important, how we as a grant can help them, what it is they're trying to do, and the social impact they want to make. So without further ado, I think we should just get started on those presentations. Awesome. So just to tell everyone, I'm running tech as well as hosting, so please be patient if I'm like typing. I'm not trying to be distracted at all. I'm just trying to make sure people know what's going on.
Michaela is a magical person who can do 3 literal full-time tasks at once. So yeah, everybody should know. If you need a technical event producer of any kind, she will outflank anyone else you're looking to work with.
And that's when I turn off my video because that was very nice. Thank you.
So I'm preemptively unsharing that screen so that when they come, they can do their own presentations.
Hi. So I can just start whenever? Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Maddie Gwynn. I'm with East End Film, and our project is called People to People. I'm going to try to share my screen with you. I've never done this before. Let's see. Okay. Oops. Can everyone see this? Okay, so I'm going to start off with our trailer just to get a little bit of intro. There we go.
For decades,
Is that working? Can you hear it? Okay.
For decades, the Israeli and Palestinian people have been caught up in and divided by a violent conflict that has cost thousands of lives and caused ongoing suffering on both sides. The mental walls that divide the two peoples has become manifest in the kilometer-long separation wall.
My work as a filmmaker is driven by the question of how to overcome the physical and mental walls in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in order to help facilitate a reconciliation process between the two peoples. I try to seek an answer to this question by using VR to create a non-confrontational space in which people from both sides can virtually meet the respective other where direct contact is not possible.
I don't know those people. The only thing I know about them is because I want to believe that they are like us.
All the Israelis that I have met, it's only soldiers who are standing on the checkpoints, who are searching my people, who are searching my family.
Together with his team, Fabian Vetter is creating a collection of short VR documentaries that portray the lives of individual Palestinians and Israelis. The aim is to give people on both sides of the separation wall the opportunity to immerse themselves in the stories, thoughts, fears, and beliefs of the people on the other side of the conflict.
My name is Fabian Vetter. I use VR as a peace-building tool in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I hope to create a space that lies beyond walls.
Okay. So the concept for this VR documentary as a collection of portraits was created first by Fabian at the University of Westminster. In his thesis, he was doing research at the crossroads of technology and peace building and trying to find the limits of what VR documentary can give to enrich our empathy systems and be used in entertainment, in education, and cultural sectors. So right now we have had funding from MFG Baden-Württemberg to shoot 6 prototypes with 6 of our protagonists. From either side of the wall, we have from Palestine, we have Arab, Sarah, and Mahmoud. And from Israel, we have Orit, Ophir, and Yaakov. And right now, the portraits are about 15 minutes long, and they dive into their daily lives, and they tell their own stories. And when presented, we hope to be able to watch one on either side so that you have that juxtaposition. So going into the full production, we hope to scale it up and have up to 30 portraits so that the viewer can choose, match and choose who they want to see. So the way that we want to display it is both online and offline. So in the online version, anyone will be able to access it from their smartphone and use Google Cardboard. And then we also have plans for an offline show, which will travel to either side of the wall and be displayed in these VR domes for the people in Israel and Palestine to, in person, be able to experience it with a group of others. And then also we plan to have it in a museum space to be shown on a wall or to have the VR goggles there. So our research has been aided by the University of Herzliya in Tel Aviv. And also we have made the prototypes with Insta360. We also have been collaborating with the peace organizations Parent Circles Family Forum and also with the Alliance for the Middle East Peace. And also with Baden-Württemberg MFG, they have funded us so far, but we are looking for additional funding. And especially right now with COVID, it's been a bit difficult. We've been applying for funds with IDFA at Ford Foundation, Just Films. And going into the next year, we hope to scale production hopefully in next summer.
Sorry, unfortunately, that's time.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to open it up to the board of directors now for any feedback.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Maddie, when you said, this is probably my misunderstanding, but you said that you would, when in presenting it, you would have one story or one documentary on either side. Does that sort of put the viewer in the position, metaphorically speaking, of the wall so that they're literally in between?
Exactly, yeah. So we can also play with the space, like in a museum, if we can display it on an actual wall, and on either side we'll have both stories so that the person can walk around and kind of break that physical wall and be in both spaces at the same time.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I think that's really interesting conceptually.
Yeah.
Well, and just a follow-up question on that as well. Like, they have to take off their heads and walk to the other wall, to the other wall, and put on their heads because it's shooting a 360 video, right? So it's all. So each video is specific to one protagonist. It's not like I'm turning around and that's another protagonist. It's each video is one. Got it.
Yeah. So each portrait is separate, and they'll be about 12 to 18 minutes each.
Got it. Sean,
I have a question. So what are some of the post viewing options for participants? Is there a study guide or a more to do, or because I know something like this can be pretty heavy for people. So I'm just wondering, how are you kind of carrying them through the heaviness, and what would you want commitment wise from people who experience this?
Yeah, so that would be something that we would be developing with the educational sector. I think this has interest. We're doing actually a university study right now. And afterwards, they've been given a questionnaire and like a space to talk to each other. So we would be facilitating that and maybe having those set of questions ready for, you know, whoever watches it. If it's on your iPhone, then that comes up at the end. If it's in a museum, then it'll be displayed on the wall, but it'll be at the end. You're supposed to use these guidelines to reflect upon it.
Thank you.
So Maddie, I'd just like to follow up on Sean's point as well. So the aftermath in some ways seems, not aftermath is a bad word, but the afterwards is almost a bit more interesting to me than the actual portraits. Because here's the thing. You're gonna have 15 minutes per portrait. Right now the MVP is like 3 of that times 2. So that's like almost a feature film length, like an hour 30. That's a very, very long time. And if you want to have 30, basically, like one of the worries I have is people will watch like 1 or 2 and just like fall off, and they get this dearth of content that never gets seen or gets seen sporadically. So I think I think the concept is super exciting, but I'm a bit concerned that given the subject matter it's A, both a life and a day of, which means that you have to dramatize a lot of it, and B, because it's, you're trying to find the duality between, these protagonists that you might not, the content might not be tight enough in some ways to sort of hold interest. So that's something that does worry me a little bit, especially with that length of content. It's a lot of footage.
Yeah, and yeah, scaling it up to have that many people. I think the purpose for that is when you're in the space to choose who you want to experience, you can kind of conform it to what is interesting to you. So, right now we just have 3 people on each side, but we're trying to show a diversity of experience. Right now we have 3 women, 3 men, but we want to scale that. And then also some people have had experiences on both sides. We want to try to find more older people and younger people and just be able to have like more diversity. And then the viewer can like choose based on who they find interesting. Yeah.
I think that, so in that case, the mechanism of how to make that choice would be very interesting to me. Like, you can find a novel way for them to be able to do that without necessarily putting on headsets, because there's a blindness to not knowing what each experience is. But if you can find a new interesting mechanism, whether it's even just simple posters of each person above each headset in a space, or some interesting way to present it so that people know exactly what they're getting into, that could be a way. That's what I'd love to hear in a follow-up session.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us. You can head back into the breakout room. And I would recommend, as you leave, just great work. And if we could see a line item budget of what exactly line item wise you are using the funds for, you can send that over, just message it to the board of directors on the Kaleidoscope platform.
Great. Thank you all so much.
Good luck.
Bye. Thanks.
Great job. Awesome. So next up we have Cross, which is Juan and Caridian. Juan, do you know if Caridian is here?
Just let me know. I think that it's not here right now.
Sure.
Okay, he's entering now. Just 1 second.
So he was in the breakout room. He should be here in just a second. Juan, do you have the presentation ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen from my computer before Caridian comes here.
Perfecto. And Caridian is here now. So I will start the timer for 5 minutes.
Sorry, okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Karian Yama, producer of Cross and executive producer of Iman Transmedia. We are a studio based in Quito, Ecuador, that develops interactive transmedia and immersive content.
I'm Juan Pablo. I am the director and creator of Cross. It is an honor for us to be here showcasing our project. Okay, she's Agni, the main character of our story. She's an example of millions of Venezuelan people who have left their country. She's part of the vulnerable population that has been exposed to abuse, illegality, lack of empathy, xenophobia, and now, during the pandemic, a worse situation due to the fragility of their economic situation. Cross born from the need to create an experience that generates awareness and reflection on this problem. Why with virtual reality and immersion, we push those who are negative to accept migrant population to live in first hand, which means to a woman leaves her country and advance with a family separated by borders and immigration policies. What is Cross? Cross is an immersive and transmedia documentary to raise social awareness about Venezuelan exodus and human mobility. We tell the story of Agni, a Venezuelan woman who crosses Ecuador to reunite with her cousin, to work with him, and get the money she needs to regroup her children. What is the experience, or what is about the experience? The immersion and the story will put the viewer in the middle of a family that yearns for reunification, and at the same time will make him a witness to Agni's journey. Our project, as I say, is a transmedia project. We have some elements like immersive installations, web platform, workshops. Also, we are doing virtual exhibitions or talks. We are doing digital exhibitions for cell phones in public spaces in these times of social distancing. We have also a participation activity, and we are trying to put some social media content in the next month.
At the moment, we are closing the post-production stage. We are looking for this grant for audio mixing. We are looking for funds or partners that help us with technology, such as cardboard, to implement the project and introduce the virtual reality in Ecuador as a tool for social impact. The total budget of the project is $27,000, and we are searching for $9,500 for finishing the project. We are Iman Transmedia. We are one of the most important new media studios from Ecuador. And this project will have the support of United Nations High Committee for Refugees, El Pitazo from Venezuela, Ecuador Chequea, and the TechCamp program. Now we want to show our trailer. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you and muchas gracias.
Vamos allá, ve a la bebé. ¿Le vas a cantar? ¿Qué le vas a cantar? La gallina, turuleca, está loca de verdad. La gallina, turuleca. ¿Cómo vas a llamar yo? Quiero reencontrarme con mi primo Luis, que está en Quito, para conseguir el dinero y pidiéndole a Dios que se me dé todo lo que le he pedido para traerme a mis hijos y estar aquí con mis hijos tranquilos. Lo que me hace falta para traer a mi hijo Manuel prácticamente es tener los pasajes, para que mi hermana me los traigan por lo menos hasta Rumichaca. Me siento triste porque me hacen falta mis dos hijos y no es fácil salir de su país a llegar a un país desconocido. Mira para allá, qué bello.
Amazing. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Caradian. I'm going to open the floor up to the board of directors to give you all feedback.
Thank you.
I can go first very quickly. So first of all, gents, great job. This is a story that I want to watch. That's great. I wish that I would love to see actually a pitch deck more about Agnes' story. You know, like I feel like, yes, definitely give us information on the tech specs and what and your race. But I really wish the 75% was really like, what is the story? Who are the people around Agnes? I see she has family in the trailer. I'd love to know more about that. I'd love to know the narrative arc of what you're trying to tell. And how long it's going to be? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 35 minutes? These are things that would be very interesting.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. For as your question, the project has 12 minutes. And yes, maybe we need to reinforce the story to give more space for the story in our pitch. The story is about Agni. She's a single mother. She has right now 35 years old. She's also a grandmother, and that's why she's right now in Ecuador, because when his daughter left Venezuela to bear her son in Colombia, she have problems with her husband, and then Agni needs to came to Ecuador immediately because her son is have only 14 years old, maybe 15 years old, and that's why Agni needs to come to Ecuador immediately. That's the context of the story, and we are trying to tell the story of Agni to reunite with her cousin to get some money to bring the other two kids that she has on Venezuela. Okay, I don't know if you have another question about the story or things like that.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Just if you can, add that to the deck, that'd be great.
Thanks. One question. So I'm wondering, first, gracias por compartir. We appreciate you sharing. But I just want to know about, we're following Agni's story, but how much are we going to follow her story, or how much are you going to focus on the conditions that created her story? Because for me, I think it's really important to figure out how people got to where they got. And so I think maybe having a bit more social, cultural, political context around her story will, for those of us, so for people who say maybe don't speak Spanish, aren't familiar with Spanish-speaking culture or the legacy of colonialism in Spanish-speaking countries, I think adding maybe a little bit of that would maybe ground the story for people who aren't as familiar. Gracias, amigos.
Okay, nice. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, and I really briefly, I just want to echo, but I can't say it any better than David or Sean, but I agree with both of those observations. And I think it's already really powerful, and it feels like it has so much potential. And I think those things would really help round it out in a way for the viewers, particularly as you said, the uninitiated viewer, be really, really amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
So that's going to wrap up our board of director feedback. For me, I'd just like to say I think it's an amazing project. Any updates that you want to make to the project in the next few days based on the feedback, feel free to message it to the whole board of directors via the Kaleidoscope platform. We'd love to see how you all integrate the feedback we give you today, and that also might help also give you that boost for some extra support from the board of directors. So feel free to stay active with us, message us on Kaleidoscope, feel free to send us feedback, or feel free to send us how you're presenting the feedback. Cool?
Okay, nice. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, David. We will send you the last version of the project, and also from David and Sean, we will send you the link, Google Drive link, to experience the documentary.
Gracias. Hasta luego.
Gracias. Ciao.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Awesome. Kevin, we have you on deck. Guilty until proven innocent. If you're ready to present, feel free to share your screen.
Sure. Sharing. Okay. All right. So you guys see my screen now? How do I gotta minimize these? There we go. All right. So my name is Kevin Coons, and the VR documentary I'd like to tell you about is currently called Guilty Until Proven Innocent. The documentary is about filmmaker, activist, and father Kevin Epps, who was rearrested in 2019 for a self-defense shooting that occurred in his house in 2016. The film follows Kevin's early life and social justice documentary film work. I first met Kevin when I moved to San Francisco in 2007, and we became friends immediately. About a year later, I organized a film screening of Kevin's work at my university, and that's the poster of this image here. Kevin is a well-known Black activist and award-winning filmmaker in San Francisco, and there are many questions about whether his rearrest was politically motivated. His films pointed their finger at racism in the police and government at a time way before anyone had a smartphone in their hand. And even currently, with Kevin out on bail and his case still up in the air, Kevin is continuing to be an activist and a father. He's raising awareness around coronavirus and contact tracing in minority communities. Last week, Kevin organized a memorial event for Mario Woods, a young African-American man who was fatally shot by police 21 times back in 2015. Our film is being recorded in both VR 180 and standard format for numerous reasons. I'll list three. First of all, VR allows you to capture spontaneous moments that make you feel like you're there and that otherwise would be impossible to capture. Two, seeing Kevin there talking directly to you in 3D makes you feel more empathetic for his story. And third, the last footage I have of Kevin before his rearrest in 2019 was filmed in VR. Our main ask for you is support for this project and bringing it to the finish line, whether that be financial support or helping us find the right producer or distribution contacts. As previously mentioned, the film is being shot in both VR and standard format, and we plan to release it like that. So finding the right partner for this is important. Thank you very much for your time. We encourage you to watch our trailer, which is currently on our Kaleidoscope page, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have about the project.
Amazing. Well under time. I will open it up to the board of directors now for some feedback.
Kevin, I have a couple questions. One question, one observation. Where is he now? Is he, when you say the last time you saw him in 2019, what's the status? What's his status right now?
So he is out on bail. We currently have a much different DA than the time when Kevin's case first started. We've actually gone through 3 DAs in San Francisco in that time. And the current DA, George Gascon, is now running in LA. And I think it's kind of crazy how many progressive people have gotten behind him. But anyway, he is out on bail. He has an ankle monitor. I think they adjusted it to a new ankle monitor that allows him greater ability to just kind of do his job and be involved in the community. But he still has a court case that is pending. And the next date for that is August 4th. And I think it's going to be on Zoom, which is, going to be a whole different world of how this is, being captured. But that is currently where his status is. And yeah, the hope would be that he gets exonerated.
Well, and to be able to document that whole process seems really valuable as well. The one other observation I was going to make is that I actually found your presentation right here and now with us more clear and persuasive than your trailer. And I would actually encourage you to go back to the trailer and maybe just make it a little bit, I don't want to say linear, but like, I just found it very compelling the way you spoke just now. And I think that if you can bring some of that to the trailer, that would be even more effective and impactful in making the case for this, which it really deserves. So that's my one bit of feedback.
Thank you.
I think to echo Nancy, I know Kevin actually quite well because I did a lot of work in juvenile justice system in San Francisco. And I would really suggest, as far as on the trailer wise, is get people who have been positively impacted by Kevin and his work to be in the trailer, have them speak on his behalf. Because if we're talking about VR and the rest, still photos just aren't going to cut it for a lot of people. There's a lack of emotional connection or depth that's there. But if you can get some talking head folks from people from maybe Hunters Point Association, people from up on, I'm up at the Boys Ranch in La Honda where he's done some work. You get these people either, of all generations, of all colors, because he's helped a lot of people, get them to speak on his behalf. I think that will actually solidify the impact of your trailers, what Nancy was speaking about. I hope I didn't take your words out of context, Nancy.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you very much. It's tricky. Kevin is such a humble guy that I really have to pull out this information out of him sometimes. Like, tell me about this organization, that organization you were involved with. Like, he's very active, and he's not someone who does it to be in the spotlight. So.
I just want to echo everything that Nancy and Sean is saying. Like, they've said it far better than I ever could. So, I won't harp on any more on that fact, but definitely a trailer does need work compared to what you just presented. I do want to talk a little bit about, I just want to have some clarification. When you say it's going to be released in both standard and VR 180, what does that mean? Is it going to be one product with both scenes from both, or is it two separate pieces?
We're kind of weighing that. We had a conversation with some Oculus for Good producers, and basically, we have a lot of footage of Kevin and of this time period in both standard format and also in VR format. And the question is, how long should the piece be, whether it should be something that's episodic. Currently, we're looking at feature length, and that is often tricky in VR headsets. So we're thinking maybe the VR version is episodic and the standard version, is non-episodic. There's also the option, a lot of discussion around film festivals and how they're going to show films moving forward. And I really like drive-in movie theaters and that sort of experience. And one benefit of VR 180 is you can make it red-blue 3D. And so that, I think, is very applicable for this project. And it's something that we're looking into. But again, there's certainly the time constraints with creating a version completely red-blue, creating a version that's VR 180, and creating a standard version. But overall, we think that this is a project that should be seen by the widest possible audience, and we didn't want to box ourselves into just being something for people in headset. Does that make sense?
So clear, actually, and I think that's something you could actually work towards to your advantage, right? Like, not everything works in HMD. Not everything works in VR, and this seems like the immediacy and the spontaneity of what's happening to Kevin like right now, contrasting with all the footage you have, that could work honestly on a flat screen better. And you might have some special moments where you do give folks the ability to look around this VR 180 sort of via their mouse and keyboard and screen, and that could be good enough. But I would definitely err more on the side of the content than on the technology, as always with these things. I know this is a kaleidoscope grant, but definitely serve the content first.
Yeah, I mean, I said there are numerous reasons why we chose VR. I could go into like, a half-hour dissertation on why I think this is the format for it and the benefits of doing that, even for using it in standard format. But I don't want to, go on a tangent here. But I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
I would also really take some consideration into the into VR, or into the episodic route, because I think that sometimes a feature can be an info dump, and I don't have time to react or even acclimate to the information because it's one thing. And episodic, because his case is a wild case, and so each episode could take a piece of the case. I think that's why things like podcasts like Serial and True Crime podcasts are so popular, is because that we get to have digestible bits of information, then we can actually get that X amount of minutes, and then we can do our own research, and then we're actually better informed for the next episode. Whereas if I'm getting bludgeoned by a wave of information, it's kind of hard for me to get my bearings, if that makes any sense at all.
Absolutely. And while trying to do the feature cut based on the episodic, we're like shedding, huge storyline aspects, and it's just going to come out later. People are going to ask these questions during the Q&As and stuff. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
So just very quickly, just jumping on to what Sean is saying as well, like the good thing about episodic formats, just putting on the business hat, is it allows you to continue pitching for more development money, and it allows you to sort of focus on a really tight pilot, which would help you get that money as well. So, look at that as a flywheel that keeps spinning potentially. I really think the episodic format works better just because the attention span of people nowadays in any headset, even on a flat screen, is just short.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of your feedback and support. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions or you want to see a longer format cut. because we have a 90-minute cut, we have a 2-hour cut, so it's continuously evolving.
And Kevin, this isn't the end of the conversation. Feel free to message the board of directors any updates you make to the project, any maybe a more robust trailer that's been cut down. Another thing I noticed in your project deck, I think we need a little more taste of the style and the cinematic quality of what it is you're trying to put together. If you are looking to maybe have a VFX package in there, if you have like a rough sketch of what that would look like and feel like. So there's definitely some thoughts, but feel free to message us and we can continue having this as a conversation. This doesn't have to be the start and end of it. But this is the end of our time currently on the showcase, and we're going to hand it over to Bryant. But Kevin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you again, and have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. So now we have Our America presented by Bryant.
Okay, you guys can see my desktop, correct?
Yes.
All right, cool. So this is Our America, and I'm Bryant Young, recent graduate of USC. I just got my master's degree in computer science. Previously went to USC for my undergrad degree in game design. Currently working on Our America as a creative director. I've got it to the point where it is at about 80%. That means all of our content is in. We're at beta right now. We're really just polishing. There's about probably 2 hours worth of replayable content. The story is about 8 to 15 minutes long, depending on the path that you go down. I'll explain that later. This is the current team, minus 2 people that just joined. So I'm the creative director. We also have an engineer, a 3D modeler, and we have an artist. And we just brought on another artist and another sound design person. This is America today. Black people are 2.5 times more likely to be shot and killed by police than white people. And this is why I made this project. So the need for Our America is because minorities don't have a space to tell their stories in current day. And I want to give people what the Black experience was on a daily basis, not the extremes of people going to jail all the time, but a regular day where a father's taking his son to school and something bad happens. And we know that we have allies out in the world who currently want to hear this story because we've seen the protests all around the world. There's not just in America anymore. It's spread so rapidly that it's now time that we need to make a change. So what is Our America? If you think of Telltale Games and you think of the Black story of America, you put them together, that's what we have here. So it's a branching narrative in a VR experience setting. Basically, it follows a father and their son on the way to school, and they have to deal with different types of racism. So it's subtle racism, overt racism, and it all culminates into a police stop where eventually the audience has to decide how they're going to react in the police stop to survive. So now to the audience that we have. So we're looking to target people that have to deal with that like Telltale game stories. So branching narratives, things of that nature. And then also recently Detroit Became Human just came out on PlayStation. That's the same type of thing. That's the same type of game. Also, we're looking to target VR people that want a very rich story to follow. And we also want to target the minorities in our community and to say, here, this is something that you can identify with in a story that you can feel like you're being heard now. These are some screenshots from the project of Malcolm, the police car, the neighborhood, the car that you'll be driving in. And there's also some art in the top right, and then our logo that's currently in the process of being redesigned. This is the trailer. One second. Why is my volume not on? Have you all seen the trailer? One sec, let me see why my volume's not going on.
I think your exit button for the Google Slides is blocking it. So if you exit out of your slides and then you can hit your play, your audio button on the YouTube link. Yeah.
Can you hear now?
Shoot. Shoot. What did I do? What did I do? Maybe grab my registration. Wait.
think it's a gun or something. Maybe my license. Yeah. It's gonna see it as threatening or something. I'll just roll my window down. No, don't do that. Don't do that. He might think I'm trying to hit him. What do I do?
So that's to show you that at any certain point in time, you have all these different choices. You can interact with the environment, you can talk to people, and then each action that you take has a consequence. So to get to this final point where we can publish this project and make it look very, very good, and make sure that that we're telling the story the right way, we need to have better models. So we're gonna look for 2 more 3D modelers, environmental artists and a character artist. We're also gonna look for an animator to make sure the mocap animations are clean and that they look like natural actions. And the last thing we need is a Unity VR optimizer too. So the timeline right now, we're trying to get our community to 5,000. We're trying to do that so that we can have a Kickstarter to raise some more funds on top of what we're already trying to raise. Kickstarter is gonna start in October. December, we wanna try to release the Oculus build. Next year, we're gonna try to target the non-VR platforms so that we can spread the audience to phones and computers, because not everyone has a VR headset, but everyone has a phone, right? So if we can make a build for the phone, that's even better. And the future plans is that if we get to this point where we can publish this project, it creates another outlet so that we can tell more minority stories, not just the Black story. The reason why we started with this is because this is a story that's something that happened to me and my father on the way back from getting our first car. So I can't tell another story, but I can, after I get this and get funding for the next project, I can then tell their story and do it as well as possible. So the budget we're looking for right now is around $60,000. Like I said, we have 4 more people we're trying to bring on, and we're also trying to get money for ads. So we're gonna run ads on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And we're gonna measure our impact in the community by the amount of downloads, trying to get 500,000 downloads. With our audience, that is easy to do. It's not gonna be a problem at all. And then also we're gonna wanna do festivals. We're gonna apply to all the festivals that we can, and then we wanna at least get into 4 festivals is our target right now.
And Bryant, that is time.
Okay.
So I'll open it up to board of directors for feedback.
Cool. I'll go first. So Brian, first of all, super powerful story. When I saw your project, I was like, okay, great. It's real-time dimension. There's a lot of potential here. So I've really sort of 2 categories of feedback for you. One's more on the creative front, and the other one's more on the business side of things. I'll start with the creative side first. It's not clear to me if you're playing as the father or as the son. Can we clarify which character you're playing?
You are the father. It's at the father. I apologize.
Okay. So, and obviously there's no, they're both valid. It's just like they're both different stories. And if you're the father, you're definitely put in a more precarious role, right? Lots we could talk about here, and I'm happy to do a deeper dive with you, but there was one fear here, which is like, especially if this is marketed specifically as a game, there is that you might lose a lot of sensitivity around it, but people just want to play it like a game. So if it's not clear to them that they're helpless in that situation, what I'm worried about is that people are just going to find ways to I don't know, like fight back against the cop, or do things that almost make light of the situation versus actually enjoy the storytelling. That's a problem with games. When you give folks a lot of agency, sometimes they run amok with it. If you are the child, if you're the son, conversely as well, like you're in a more vulnerable position, but then it gives you more power as a creator to sort of make sure that the narrative is what you want to tell, instead of getting them fooled. I'm not sure if this is clear, but this is, you probably get a sense of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Second thing is just more on the business side of things. Like, you're charging for this, right?
We're not clear. If we can get the funding to make this project free, we would love to. But if we can't, obviously, and we have to go with a publisher, then the publisher is going to want to charge some amount of money for it to get their money back, right? So that's where we are. Once we get to the point of we know how we're funding this completely, then we'll know if we're charging for it or not.
Got it. Because $20K for an ad spend makes sense if you want to recoup that. If not, I wonder, do you really want to spend that money on ads, or is it just for awareness? Because you can also lean on on sponsorships and just like instead of like actually getting yourself some paid partners who might help float you for that awareness spend. Just something to think about, because I feel like this is a strong story, and to charge for it as well. On the other hand, sort of, especially I'm familiar with the gaming crowd. Like they're gonna be, if it's gonna be like a 10-minute piece, you're gonna get like Steam bad reviews. You're gonna get people who complain that this is not a game. And it's a lot of weird pricing considerations, especially on the Steam and Oculus store right now, which is what exactly is a $9 experience or a $20 experience. And anyway, I don't want to go ahead of myself, but I'm really excited for your project. I would love to see where you are at, and I hope you get success. And I'm happy to do another one-on-one and find that this is useful.
Yeah, definitely. Please, if you could send me an email, that would be great.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Great, you?
I'm well, thank you. So one thing I'm really concerned about is the gamification of trauma. And I'm wondering, have you maybe put in your budget for a psychologist or a psychiatrist to figure out how to be able to include things in the games that will not re-traumatize people or desensitize people to the trauma? Because if I'm just like, oh, the cops, it is like something similar to what David was saying, because I think that when we, especially in the moment that we're in right now, which is my conflicted feelings, because in the moment that we have right now, it's very important that these stories get out and that we talk about these stories, but it's also can be a whole lot to actually psychically mitigate because of that. I mean, I know me, I got pulled over the other day, and I was just like, I mean, just the level of cortisol in my body at the time. And then now you're choosing to enter this world where anything can happen. I'm just wondering what kind of psychological breaks do you have around it, or do you have other information attached to the game where people can go and like resources or something? Because I think it could be a very intense experience for people.
So that's one thing that we've always kept in mind, that this isn't a game. This is a narrative experience in the VR setting, right? So like the reason why it's in VR is because this is something that I went through, and I didn't want people to play my life, correct? Like, just like you're saying, something traumatic that I've gone through isn't a game to me. It's an experience, and I want you to experience it. The main thing that keeps people in the mindset that this isn't a game is that Malcolm in the right seat. Malcolm's going through something traumatic on a daily basis. And that's what tethers people to this story instead of tethering them to like the environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So then my question is, if it's something you want not to be, then why not use, I'm just curious, like, why not use real actors in the VR environment if you wanted to have a more empathic relationship with the material?
So the reason behind that was, that actually was something that we were looking at. We were looking to do live action, but the problem was that we needed to do a full script before we could do any of the live action stuff. And the project had a deadline. It had to be beta by May, because we were doing it started as a school project. It was 20 of us together. And so it had to be beta by May. And that's why we ended up doing the coding aspect and making it animation, because we knew we could do mocap and get all the animations and everything we needed done, because we could dual path. Like some people could be doing audio while other people were doing animation and things of that nature. And then we can come together later. That's the main reason why it's not live action.
Cool. Thank you.
So that's going to wrap up, I think, the feedback for the board of directors. For me, Brian, I would say just in your presentation as well as in your slides, it's always good to connect this experience back to the personalization and the narrative and why it's impactful to you. And so I totally agree. You're not trying to gamify your life, but I think if we could know firsthand that this is based on an experience that you've had as a child and you are utilizing that as your foundational material, at the start of your presentation, I think that would be a really great way for us to then open our minds up to how it is you are building the game or how it is you're building the experience. And I definitely think there's more to unpack here. So feel free to message the board of directors at any time via the Kaleidoscope platform. That might actually be a better way than you and David exchanging emails in the first part of this. And yeah, we're excited to see how your project grows and continues. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Nice job. Awesome. So up next, we have the Love and Remembrance VR Museum, the 5th of 6 projects. We're getting towards the winding end. And thank you so much. Both of you are named Amelia, correct?
Yes, so that's right.
Amelia M and Amelia Y for your time and patience. Feel free to share your presentation and I'll start the timer.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm on it.
Okay, in the meantime, I can introduce myself. I'm Emilia Yang, I'm Nicaraguan, I'm an artist and a PhD candidate at Media Arts and Practice at USC. Since 2 years ago, that generalized state repression and violence started in Nicaragua, and my family was victim of state violence. I have been working around healing, memory, and the future. I'm director of this community-based memory project, which was made, if you can go to the next slide, maybe.
Yeah, one quick second. I'm on it.
Which was made with a participatory approach and a human rights framework.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, no worries, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, so I'm the director of this community-based memory project, which was made with a participatory approach and a human rights framework by a victims organization called the Association Mothers of April, which also translates to love, and which I am a member of. We see this museum as a seed to grow and flourish against impunity. It was created in really extreme conditions since the repressive government is still in power. This started as it's a transmedia project, started as a digital archive that has profiles of each of the victims, testimonies of their families, mapping of the events in which around 100 victims, we have already like 100 victim stories, and the ways of each family memorializes. And now we created this VR experience to be able to share with the world the memory objects of the victims. And now Emilia Mason is gonna give you a little bit more about the VR experience. Thank you.
Hi, hello, can everybody hear me? Okay, perfect. So, so since the entire museum that Emilia Yan has been working on the exhibition, there's a section about the barricades in which barricades were constructed by Nicaraguan citizens to protect their cities and their small towns, right? Because paramilitary forces financed by the government were trying to break in and take in protesters. So the barricades have a very strong meaning throughout the entire exhibition. So we decided to create virtual replicas of the barricades created by the families of the victims in the exhibitions. So there are a total of 5 3D barricade-shaped altars. Each one of them have objects that belong to the victims. And in this, like the user, basically the audience gets to learn a little bit, like a little piece of who this victim was, who this protester was. Sometimes a lot of things that happens in this kind of projects is that people tend to see the violence and tend to forget that the protesters were people with dreams, were people with hobbies, and were people who were somebody's kids, somebody else's parents, brothers, sister, friends. So through the audience, through photogrammetry, gets to see objects that belong to the victims. And when they select an object, they hear the narration of what this object meant, but by one of the victim's family. So our progress, we have over 100 items already that were already taken the photos for the photogrammetry process of, and we already have completed the 3D models of this objects. Objects are, I have to say that due to the extreme circumstances, the photographers in Nicaragua who took these photos were not experts in photogrammetry process, but as well they had to do it undercover because, well, their lives were like at risk by being like close to the exhibition and being close to the objects, right? We have already conducted the interviews and we have already put together like a few of the initial steps of the VR experience as well. So in our production, our budget is of $10,000. We have about half of it, and right now we need money, we need financing for the installation and distribution. Due to COVID, some of the exhibitions are going to be a little bit complicated to be done. So we are choosing, besides having the VR format, since we already have the objects and the audios of the interviews, we're interested in making it a little bit more accessible to family members and to the Nicaraguan diaspora abroad. So we're interested in making like a web AR version so people can actually experience the objects in their own space and hear the audio and what they meant and get to know who these victims were through this. So our genre, well, it's activism. We are currently working on 2 different formats, on 3 Degrees of Freedom for the Oculus Go, which is the first one that we started working with. And then we also started working on like for Oculus Quest with 6 Degrees of Freedom. So we want to have both versions. We're interested in festivals, exhibitions, because with the exhibition, we want to have the VR museum, but also like the entire exhibition as a whole, the one that was created by the other Amelia. And we want to do a lot of social media, which is something that we already have been doing through Instagram and Facebook. The other Amelia has been in charge of that. And this is our trailer.
Unfortunately, Amelia, we're out of time.
Okay, perfect.
But if you want to just leave the trailer playing and we can look at the visuals while the board of director begins to give feedback, that's totally fine.
Perfect. This is a shorter version as well. So yes.
I'm going to open it up to our board of directors at this time to give any thoughts or feedback based on what was presented, or if we want to take a moment to watch, I'm also open to that as well. I just want to make sure we maintain time.
Cool. How long is the trailer, Amelia's?
This is 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a shorter version. It is important to say that the objects were selected by the family members. So they basically decided what object they want the audience to remember their loved ones by, and that's what they talked about. Those are the photos of the victims, of some of the victims.
Can you turn the volume a little bit?
Oh.
Just for that bite.
Okay. It's great that you're showing us this trailer, just so I understand, because one of the big questions I had was, can you interact with the object? Can you pick it up, can you examine, can you bring it close to you, whether it's stuff, right? So very quickly, like I love this project. Like I really want you guys to succeed. Please take it away. I think the big feedback I have here is just making sure that understanding that some objects are not as well photographed as others. But I think the curating of it, especially in the early days, is going to be super important, especially as you match the narration to it. I would love to see where you are with that, just because that would make or break your experience. The second part on top of that is just making sure you set the context very, very clearly, that the trailer does a good job of making sure that for the actual experience itself, the onboarding so that they understand this is key as well. That's all I really have. I love to see the progress.
Amo este proyecto. I mean, I love it. I think this is like one of the greatest things that I think remembering, because if you break it down, remember means to bring back. And I think there's something so powerful about being able to collect this, and then the psychometric aspects of the individual victim artifacts. One thing the only thing I agree with everything that David said. I think this is a fantastic project, and I'm rooting for you from way out here in California. But I was wondering, just language-wise, is there another word have you considered besides victim? Because I think that when you say victim, people are gonna be like, oh shit. People are gonna kind of sometimes feel down about that. Have you thought about something else? Like not victim or survival, because that's a really ugly binary, but some other type of victim, some other type of language to kind of celebrate who they are and not take away their power, because I think victims are powerless and they have these things that they've created that actually show that they're powerful. And so just wondering, have you thought about a different way to frame the contributors to the project?
I guess I can answer that. Because we worked with a human rights organization from Nicaragua, we asked them actually to give us language to work with this. And And that's why we say that we use a human rights framework. But we also, whenever we talked about victims, we always make emphasis that we are families of victims who had rights and that their rights were taken away from them. And maybe there could be a way, as you said, to highlight that we're like defending the right to truth, the right to justice, the right to memory. So these are things that maybe it should be more explicit in the language. And thank you, because I completely agree with you. It's a hard balance.
No,
but
absolutely. And I think because the thing is, it's kind of like, you know, like my folks, right? My mom's Jamaican, dad's Puerto Rican, right? And so it's easy to say it's because I'm this, that's why bad things happen, as opposed to they did bad things. Because you never want to have the people receiving the bad things be the focus or the locus or the internalization of the bad things. So once you externalize the person doing the oppression and the harm, I think that builds a fuller picture as opposed to, oh, those poor people there, because you don't ever want to pity anyone, right? What we want to see is how the larger structure of oppression works so that we know who to fight as opposed to who to protect. There's a balance there. That's all I'm saying. But this is, I have pom-poms. I'm a cheerleader. I think this is wonderful work.
Thank you. Definitely.
Sorry, I just have a very, very quick thing to add on top. I just remembered, I don't know here about installation. I have a bad feeling about like installations in the near future. I think doubling down on web AR is a smart move to do so, especially if a lot of it is just 3D objects, especially if you make it in GLTF format with a narration. Like, I think web AR is very doable, and I highly encourage you to investigate that. I would almost suggest that you explore that route first before installations, because let's talk about reach. Like, you know, especially if it's a free app, if it's supported by partners, more people will see it than at a site-specific place. And that might not even preclude it from being at a festival. It could have a festival, sort of a virtual festival launch in VR, but it could have follow-up in web AR. Highly suggest you explore it around.
And one more thing, I'm sorry, just to add to what David says. Thank you, Dave. That was actually, it really sparked the really, I mean, I can see also maybe another step once you get your funding and your partnerships in place, making this almost not to belittle the project, but like almost like Pokemon Go, because I would love to see an artifact in downtown San Francisco. I'd love to see an artifact in places that people wouldn't normally go out of their way to go experience this, but being able to put somebody else's stories into another context will actually invite people to actually, I think, also be a little bit more involved and get more aware of that. So there's something to think about too, about maybe doing something where you can AR it too.
Thank you.
Yes, Amelia has experience with a web with an AR project, so we're definitely going to go that route.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's actually that we are very interested in, especially because of accessibility. There's a lot of Nicaraguans that are not in the country and that do not have access to VR headsets. So we're considering also making maybe a linear version that could be on Google Cardboard, but we're also thinking about the idea of the web AR and actually allowing people that are in different, even the family members of the victims that are across the country that won't have access to any sort of like VR headset, for them to be able to access this information, which is kind of like the main idea of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Web AR, I even think a desktop experience where that's a little more interactive, so people don't have to necessarily be holding a device up, but it could be more comfortable. I'm thinking this is for accessibility for like elderly or people who don't necessarily activate themselves by holding things in front of them. I also think this is an amazing project. One thing I'd like to kind of move my little screwdriver just to kind of like go a little deeper here is why VR for the VR experience. The AR makes total sense to me. They're objects, they're alters. What I see right now is a VR experience that you are literally just moving with this alter. So is it that when I pick up an object, suddenly the photos of the people are all around me and suddenly the audio of the people are all around me? Am I seeing potential graphic design of that person growing up, moving around me in like a quill or Google Tilt Brush? So thinking about the space not just as like a black box theater, but as a theater in the round as well, when you're building into the idea of VR, not necessarily AR, not necessarily desktop, but I'm just to just pull that into maybe a little more of the creative realm of how you can really make this a VR based story.
Perfect. Thank you for the feedback.
You're welcome. And this is not the end of the discussion. Message us on Kaleidoscope. You can hit message the board of directors and your message will go out to all of us. If there's one you want to particularly discuss with in more depth, you can message us each individually on Kaleidoscope. And I definitely see a bright future for this project. And I definitely have some ideas of some people I'd love to connect you all to.
Oh, that would be
thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap up your time. Thank you so much again for joining us and for your patience. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Alfredo. Alfredo, are you there? You're our final presenter today. He's been chilling in the main stage with us. Let's see.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Peace, y'all. I'm sad that Amy left.
I think she's still here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean Amy. I was talking about
Nancy.
Nancy. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I just read Amy's name as I was saying that. Hey, Amy. I'm glad that you're here.
Hey,
I don't know
everyone.
you, but I'm glad that you're here. Okay. Peace, everyone. Let's talk about some projects. Sure. Let me drop my presentation in. Okay. Okay, screen.
For everyone here, Alfredo is our final presenter. So thank you for your patience, Alfredo, and thanks for ending us.
Of course.
Today.
Oh, oops. Percent. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Yes, perfect. Okay, so again, thanks for taking the time for this. My name is Alfredo Salazar Caro. I am the creator and director of Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter, or El Sueño de la Hija del Jaguar. So let's talk about it. So Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter is a 3-part surreal documentary that follows Achik, the spirit of a young immigrant, as she makes her crossing from Central America, moving into Mexico, and then into the Arizona desert. So within this journey, each episode reveals the dreams and memories of, I guess Achik is pretty much the vessel that carries out these memories, but these are memories based on interviews that we did in 2018 through 2019. So here's a little bit of the what the interior world looks like. It is composed of course, digital work, but a lot of it is photogrammetry, a lot of it is objects taken from our journey. So in 2018, one sec. So in 2018, me and a small team went down to Guatemala to start doing interviews and follow the migratory pattern from there all the way to the US-Mexico border. And during that process, we did interviews with people who were starting the process of immigration, who had been deported, who had been affected by what both the violence in Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Central America in general, or they were, had been abandoned by their families. So, like I said, there's 3 chapters. Chapter 1, it actually has already been. Chapter 1 was premiered at Tribeca Film Festival as a 360 film. It's really more of a pilot. Because the piece is actually intended to be a 6DoF interactive work. In fact, it was made originally as a 6DoF piece, but Tribeca Film Institute asked us to present it as a 360, which ended up being a great thing because we were able to distribute it much faster and much more broadly than with a 6DoF piece. But the intention of the work is, in fact, to be 3 chapters, 6DoF, fully interactive piece. So like I said, the first chapter takes place in Guatemala. So it's about home and exodus. The second chapter takes place in central Mexico in Oaxaca, which is a place where a lot of immigrants stop in the midst of their trek. There's a lot of shelters there, and it's centered around this massive tree in Oaxaca, which for me has been kind of a very important place of shelter for me and my family, actually. And then finally, the last chapter takes place in the Arizona desert. So of course, this being one of the most dangerous and yet one of the more popular ways to cross, because there is no fence or wall yet. It's just open but very deadly. So here's some images that we took. So this was in the so one of the things was that during the time that we were traveling to do this to do this interviews and to like understand the migratory patterns, we kind of ran into the migrant caravan in 2018. It wasn't something that we were intending to find or anything, but rather just something that kind of happened. This was, really a very intense experience that, it changed my life forever. It really made me realize that, human solidarity and the concept of family is something that goes very far beyond the American experience, especially when I was able to be there for this. So the migrant caravan has become kind of a central theme of the piece, but of course, this has been evolving over the past 2 years in this accelerated manner. So, the piece starts with the migrant caravan as a starting point, and by chapter 3, we're going to be discussing a lot more of what's happening at the border, of course, the crossings, but also talking about the concentration camps and so on. Here's a little bit of behind the scenes. The little girl on the left is who became the inspiration for the main character, Achik. She was literally guiding us and telling us which ways down the mountains to go down. And then on the right side, it's a picture of Maria, one of the people that we interviewed, who lives in a town of deportees in Guatemala, and me 3D scanning her. So this is a little bit of like a previous piece as an example of what the installation looks like. My background, I don't know if you guys can still see me, but my background is actually part of Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter. But this piece is, so Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter is in a way following a series of work that I had been doing since about 2015 called Border Crossing Beta, in which I was doing simulations of border crossing using game engines. Of course, this was before VR. And then this is Border Crossing Beta 3.0, which was based on one of my friend's personal immigration experiences. And so the physical installation matches part of what his story was. So the installation for Dreams of the Jaguar's Daughter is intended to be something similar, where parts of the VR are abstracted and put into physical space. This is,
unfortunately, we're at time.
Oh, okay, no problem. That's pretty much it. Let's see. This is the installation, the dream version of the installation, with a bunch of cool people on headsets and this cool mask. And that's pretty much it. So we did it. Great.
Thank you. We're going to open it up now to our board of directors to give some feedback.
And I guess I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, do you already take me out of the sharing? Okay, great. I'm also going to drop a link to the trailer in the chat so you guys can check it out. It's about 1.5 minutes long.
Sean, I've been speaking so much. Why do you why do you go first this time?
No, I actually dig when you talk about you. I like the way you conceptualize things. Hey, Alfredo, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Question I want to ask is, why did you choose a more mythic folk route than opposed to a straight ahead linear narrative?
So for me, it was really important to not have a traditional documentary, especially because a lot of times, these can be very dire stories. You know what I mean? For me, one of the things that I got out of this experience of me being there with a caravan crossing was not the the pain and the hopelessness and the, you know, fleeing from violence. I mean, all that is there and we all know about it. You know, I don't need to drill it onto anybody's skull that that is what's happening. For me, the most important part of that experience was actually the power of the people and the hope that they all had that they could actually make it out of that bullshit. So for me, so mythically speaking, especially in the Mayan Mexica cultures, the jaguar represents this forward energy. It represents the solar plexus, power of will. And for me, when I saw the people there and I literally crossed the border with them, I knew that they had this determination and this solidarity that I had never seen in my life anywhere else. So for me, that was what I need to honor, or that is what I need to honor. You know, so I wanted to focus on that part, and, you know, use kind of like allegories of mythology. But at the same time, maybe we can see the trailer together. I don't know if we have time, but you know, there is a mixture of like real footage from the crossing and from different parts of, you know, different interviews, etc., in combination with this kind of like surreal, like magic realism type of feel. And again, for me, the point of it is to talk about the hope, talk about the possibility, while still presenting real facts, while still presenting real footage. So that's why.
Don't take it as a criticism at all, because
for sure.
I love it. I just love it. I was wondering what are the choices and how. I mean, because like, you know, there's a particular mythological system from that part of the world, and I was wondering how do you make that universal without losing any cultural authenticity and genuineness of the culture. But I mean, for me, I think I think it was a smart choice to make a magical realist documentary. To me, is very inspiring, especially in times when we're getting beat over the head, like you said, with facts and trauma and horror. It actually makes the, you know, the medicine go down a little bit easier. So gracias.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, just jumping on the same bandwagon here. I agree. Like, I think I need more I want to watch the trailer now. Like, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the first chapter as well, but I'm very, very interested to see it. And I mean, very quickly in a high level, like what is the proportion of like magical realism with documentary here? Because the thing with yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I couldn't really hear you so well.
What is the proportion of like magical realism and myth here with fact and documentary? Because
yeah, I would say it's probably like a 60-40 mix of 60 being like magical realism, but I don't really like so the magic realism or like the more kind of surreal aspects of it are all based on the reality, right? So like, for example, like the environment, like you see my background, like this house is actually a 3D scanned house from ground zero in Guatemala, in the part where there was like a volcanic eruption in 2017, and this town of 3,000 people was obliterated, or rather 3,000 people died in this town, right? So we went to the site, we did 3D scans, and in the piece, one of the things that ends up being like a push outwards is also a volcanic eruption. So it's like, you know, where in the volcano is not just a volcano, but it is an ancestor, you know, a god. So you know, so there are all these myths that just interblend with what the reality of what actually happened. You know, so we talk about, you know, the violence, we talk about the drug trade, we talk about the gangs, we talk about the earthquakes and the, you know, the climate change, but also doing all of this through the lens of kind of mythology, because ultimately mythology is a reflection of reality, you know. So like Sean was saying, it's a way to speak of these very heavy subjects in a way that allows the medicine to go down a little bit easier. So yeah, it's, even though it's 60-40, it's all based on facts. And there's actually an intro where you read a little bit about what's happening before, like a preface to the story.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's essentially what I'm getting at, right? Like, bitter medicine is really, really hard to swallow, and people are resistant to it, especially folks who generally don't know anything about it and just want to have a good time. But if you're able to, code it in something that's universal, that everyone can sort of really understand at a very universal level, then you're in a really good position to really tell that story.
Totally. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoever's playing the trailer, would you mind like optimizing for video before you share? Because I think there's like a way to do that. Actually, here, I think if I share my screen, let me try it. Oh, yes. And then there's a little share computer sound and optimize screen sharing for video clip share. And then I can just go here. So actually, I send you guys a link where you can actually watch the full thing if you would like to.
Yeah, I'll rather, with limited time, I'd rather just, we watch the trailer after.
Totally. So, okay, there it is. Hopefully it looks a little bit cleaner. I'm not really sure. It looks good on my side, but
Sorry, I have one last question, if we don't mind sort of pausing the video for a bit. And that is
yes,
like,
absolutely.
what is the final arc? Like, what is the final, what happens in the end? Like, yeah.
In the end, so like I said, I really want to keep it hopeful. I really want to keep it to a place where there's possibility, because again, like things are dire and things have gotten worse. I mean, it was bad enough that 45 is building concentration camps on the border. Now there's concentration camps that are full of COVID-19. So it's a really brutal moment, truly a humanitarian crisis that we have next door. And I mean, not even next door, it literally at our house. And so that is actually where I'm at, because I'm writing chapters 2 and 3 as we speak. And one of the parts of the process that I'm doing is that now I'm joining forces with people like No Más Muertes in southern Texas. I'm sorry, in southern Arizona, and with there's a oh man, I'm forgetting the name of them, but there's an organization in New York that I'm working with that works with immigrants, and we are writing the story with them directly. Chapter 1 was a little bit more like written after the trip. So, it's like we took this interviews and then we like looked at the story and we took it all together. But now we're like doing the writing with the people. So I think that what my goal is to listen to what they would like to see. Again, I am very cautious of trauma porn. I don't really want to kind of like perpetuate like these horrible images, because somebody else is already doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be a million documentaries about this moment. I don't really need to perpetuate that. So I would like to show the story and then put an ending to it that delivers, that there's light at the end of the story. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think perhaps it would be interesting to focus the ending on, people who have made it. But this is all in the making. So that's where I'm currently at. Do you guys hear me?
Yes. So
okay, good.
I have one question and one feedback. The question is, what do you need to get chapter 2 completed, finished at a milestone? Because chapter 1 is done and now you're focused on chapter 2 and chapter 3. This grant is mainly focused on helping creators build out a short sprint, a smaller budget. And so I think episode 2 and 3 kind of put you out of the criteria for this grant. So I really want to focus on your ability to complete episode 2. So if you could just give me a quick rundown on what you would need for that.
Absolutely. So currently, so I just bought a car. I fled New York. I'm in Florida right now. I bought a car and now I'm heading to Texas. And then from there, I'm going to go down to the border and start a lot of the interview process and a lot of photogrammetry, drone footage, etc. So what I need right now is just basically money to continue. The projected budget for the piece is about, well, we have different projections, depending on like dream budgets versus minimal budget. But dream budget is about 250K. Minimal budget is about 150K. So we've raised about 65. We spent pretty much all of that making chapter 1. And I have a little bit of leftover, which is how I bought this car. So yeah, basically we just need money to continue the work, largely on the Unreal. I don't know what's going on there. Largely the Unreal development is going to be probably the most expensive part, just because, as you guys know, developers are expensive. But yeah, so this is all being made in Unreal Engine. So that's going to be expensive. But the immediate need is actually basically cash to go down to the border and be able to like keep doing what I'm doing in the next 2 to 3 months that I'm going to be basically crossing America, interviewing people.
So what I would recommend, Alfredo, is if you could craft a small pitch that only dictates that immediate need for you, because I did not know that you were planning on going back down to the border to document what's currently happening. I knew that you took like a 3-month journey back in 2018 and you were still using those assets. So I think what would be really helpful for the directors of this kind of grant is if you could send us that information just quickly on a slide to say, you know, due to COVID, due to the current administration, I feel the need to go back down to the border safely. I currently have now a car. You know, $500 would give me the gas money and the bandwidth to stay down at the border for a week. If you could craft that in like a single slide with a single paragraph and send that to our board of director as almost like an addendum, I think that would really help. And or even if you could update that on your Kaleidoscope pitch, because I'm really struggling with how we can make sure you qualify for this grant, because I know the work you're trying to do, but the work for this grant is truly to try and help people make the project that's not quite the big budget legacy project that I know you're trying to do. But if it is, hey, help me get into the field, help me get back to the border, then the project does qualify for this grant.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking for. And I'm happy to send like a little, you know, just like a slide on the immediate needs for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. Sorry. And then my one feedback would be always open with the field work you've done. Always open with the 3-month journey you took, those photos of you. That's going to establish your ethos to say, this is how I know about these people, because it's very obvious to us, you know, that you have that same heritage, but it's not as obvious to us that you did the documentarian work until later on in your presentation. So that would just be my feedback.
Of course.
And I will pass the word along.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, I'm just curious, what do you expect from us as an audience? How are we, what is our, I mean, I guess, how do you want us to be after experiencing your work?
Absolutely. That's a really great question. So there's a couple of goals to the piece. So I hate to talk about VR and empathy because, you know, I feel like that's a little bit tried, but truly I feel like I would like for people to feel, one, hopeful, like there actually is something that we can do about this. I'm not saying that, you know, that you have to watch something to feel like there is something to do about it. Like I'm doing something about it every day. So I think it is possible to help people. So again, like I would like people to feel hopeful, and then I want to put in some action items for people. So along with the piece, part of my, let's call it a campaign, is that the goal of me completing this work is to utilize it as a fundraising tool. So by putting it in festivals, by doing our own openings and our own exhibitions, and, you know, charging X amount of money for people to come experience it or people to download, and using whatever money we raise to get, you know, immigration lawyers, to give supplies to people, to, you know, like just whatever it is that is necessary to help the situation, we can use this piece as just something that we can like piggyback on. So that's the ultimate goal. And just to be direct, the goal is to make people feel empathy to the situation and to feel hopeful that something can be done, and hopefully push them to actually, you know, help.
I would challenge you, Alfredo, to think about how also the piece is serving the people in a way that I don't want you to be building a beautiful, fantastical world so that a very specific type of audience can feel empathy towards a situation that they are perpetuating potentially. So how also are you making a piece of hope and a piece of empowerment for the people there going through what they're going through, whether that's maybe some sort of campaign to bring the VR experience back to the places you've visited in 2018, whether that's working with a local cultural institution to put this piece there versus being focused on let's bring it to the US and let's bring it to these like cultures that are perpetuating this issue because of who they are as a sole focus of this. Because to me, this, like you said, is so much about empowerment. It's fantastical. It's beautiful. It's not dense of information. And I would hate to see a beautiful piece like that only be showcased to a singular audience for empathy building versus actually bringing more empowerment, more hope to the people that you are empowering and showcasing in a form of hope as well.
Totally. No, I totally agree with you. For me, that's a really interesting point because, you know, access to virtual reality is obviously outside of the West, to call it that. It's very difficult. You know, there isn't a lot of places. I mean, even in Mexico, just south of the border, you know, like all my friends that would like to get into VR, like, it's just a huge pain in the ass to try to get into it. You know, even, you know, we say like, oh, now it's cheaper, like $400 for a headset, like whatever. But it's, you know, $400 in Mexico is a lot of money, and you know, not to mention in Central America or South America, so it's bad. So, you know, I think it's important to acknowledge that. The main audience for this work is going to be affluent Westerners. And my goal is to get those affluent Westerners to give us their money. And that's it, to be perfectly honest. Like, if we need the help, that's how I think is a good way that I can use my talent to pull it. You know, the people themselves, as much as I would love them to enjoy this, like, I feel like they have other things on their mind. And I feel like me showing them their own journey is not really adding anything to them. But at the same time, I hear you. I understand what you mean. You know, it would be great if we could expand how people can see this. But yeah, that's definitely a question that it's been twirling around in my mind for a while.
Awesome. And that's going to probably wrap us up unless you have anything to add, Jesse. And Alfredo, just to also piggyback. I mean, I've never seen my ancestors' faces in mountain ranges. So to me, that would be something really incredibly impactful to me. Not necessarily to say like, oh, let me watch myself go through my own issues and my own journey, but let me also like, see it in these like in this way that's acknowledging my ancestry, acknowledging my mythology, acknowledging my roots, that I can also make such an incredible impact beyond just the capitalist idea of we need more money.
Absolutely. I hear you. Thank you for that.
From my end, I unfortunately popped in late, but I also fortunately am very familiar with how talented Alfredo is and how incredible chapter 1 of this experience is. So I think all the feedback and ideas given were really valid, and it was actually a really fascinating discussion for me around how do you portray something both honestly and in an empowering way. I think this piece is confronting that in a really interesting way. So, yeah, those are my comments.
Thanks, Jesse. And for those of you guys that want to check it out, like I said, I dropped the trailer and the full piece in 360 on YouTube and in the chat. So feel free to check it out. And it's about 8 minutes long with credits, so not too hard to check it out.
Thank you.
And that's going to conclude our showcase today. So I'm going to end our YouTube live stream. Alfredo, thank you so much for joining us. Again, message us as the board of directors on Kaleidoscope with that little update. I think that will help us a lot with what we're doing. Also know that the upvoting process can be frustrating, but we are working on shifting and adjusting how we allocate the funds beyond just an upvote process.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all for the long haul. I appreciate it.